swine run off the cliff and they drowned in the river, the stream, whatever it is, the lake. And the townspeople were very upset at Jesus. So Russell Moore spoke on that particular passage. And when Russell Moore spoke on that passage, this is what he said. I'm not going to give you his entire sermon, but I'm going to give you one little insight to what he said that I thought for me, I want to read the passages. I'm constantly looking for this in the Scriptures. Russell Moore said, he asked a simple question. He said, what is the first question? What did Jesus do when he came across this man that was possessed by a demon? And it's so seemingly simple, but at the same time, it's so incredibly profound. Jesus simply said this, Jesus, your name. Now, in the typical reading, the reading that I've taken the last 20 years, Jesus says, what's your name? The demon says, we are legion, for we are many. And then you go on with the story, and Jesus cast out the demon. And Russell Moore, he just put it in words that for me, particular reading of the passage, but it's a very, very simple truth. That Jesus, one, spoke to this individual that nobody else wanted any business with. And two, that Jesus said a simple word. He said, a simple set of words. He said, what is your name? And I know that sounds crazy simple, but Jesus is an outsider. Jesus approaches a stranger. Jesus approaches someone that nobody else in the world wanted anything to do with. And he said a simple question to him. He said, what is your name? And Russell Moore went on in his sermon to talk about how it would change the world, how it would change culture, the possessed or the clean or the unclean. But if we would begin simple conversations with words like, what is your name? What is your name? And I don't know for you if it has that power to it, but I really thought it was profound. Because what we do, we do this than us. We just simply don't. It's simple. It's how we meet sorts of people. What we find is he sees where he says that what Chad said, objectify as an image. You see this repetitive individual, and what do? Its disciples said, objectify is our natural reflex. I love what Piper says in regards to that line of thinking. That's our natural reflex is this. Our natural reflex. My natural reflex is to avoid people that are very different from me. But Piper says, I love it. He says, we are not natural people. We are not natural people. Maybe it's too embarrassing to even admit such things, but individuals with disabilities and handicaps and people that are so different from us, I find, even in my grown adult, seemingly wannabe mature kind of ways, I get kind of funny around people that are different from me. We are not natural people. We do things differently. We do things differently. It was Sunday school a couple of weeks ago, and again, this is probably insensitive and foolish to say from the pulpit, but it is foolish and simple. So I'll avoid it. I'll just avoid it. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's how shallow I am. Jesus does what is incredible. I know we're just in the first opening passages of John chapter 9 here. He's passing by. He sees a man blind from birth, and his disciples say, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be... He says, it was neither that this man sinned nor his parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him. I'm going to read the passage again. Jesus' parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him. Jesus does this. He does a wonderful job of not just seeing a man's problems, but think of it this way. Listen. What if we thought of people in this way? Not as just people with problems and not problems that need fixed and they need this or they need that or I can tell you what their problems are. What if we thought of people, not as people with problems, but of people with a purpose? And think about what that means. That you give me the most unclean, unholy individual on earth. Let me tell you something. Who sinned? Was it his parents' fault? Was it his fault? Who was made in such a way that the works of God might be displayed in him. We think of people in terms of their capacity to bring God glory. We think of people in terms of their ability, again, to have this purpose so that the work